See, I agree that you need allies to an extent. My disagreement with the major exponents of the coalition theory for black people, notably Mr. Bayard Rustin, is that they never decide upon what terms you coalesce with people. Anyone knows that as a rule of politics that one coalesces on specific issues. You don't get married to an organization for lifetime. Therefore, it is inherent in the black power concept that one organizes independently oneself first and deciding what is to one's interests, and then one can coalesce with groups if one can find those groups. Now, if in fact we follow Reverend Williams's logic to its conclusion, it then says that in the long run, white people are going to be against us anyway if we move for our liberation and they don't like it. And therefore, what we must do is do it on their terms, because if we didn't do it on their terms, the whole 60% in Atlanta or nationwide, the whole 90% would come together against us. And in my own feeling, it just absolutely agrees with what I say, that this country is racist from top to bottom.
And I'm back. Thank you for tapping in. I'm Brian HRap Williams. This is the End of the Bench Media. Thank you for tapping in once again. If you haven't, subscribe, hit like, hit share, tell a friend to tap in. Please hit that like button. It is important. Thank you for tapping in. Again, I am thanking Dolores and John, who is Dolores and John. Those are my parents. Dolores is my mother. John is my father. They come together, created me. I created this. And without this, you'll be doing something else with your valuable time. If you're watching this and you're not watching this live, please go to www.theendofthebench.com, www.theendofthebench.com. That's where you get this content. You can watch it live, actually, or you can watch it later, and you'll get all my content and from previous months, weeks, over the last 3 months, 90 days worth of content right there. Thank you. And I want to say hello to everyone and thank you for the support. Hello, everyone, and thank you for the support. This is a few minutes with HRap. What I do is attempt to uplift our community, the black community, each and every day. Every time I tap in, my goal is to make our grandchildren's great-grandchildren life way better than we ever imagined. You know how people have t-shirts on my grandparents' dreams. I doubt if you're your grandparents' dreams, because your grandparents didn't want to live in this type of world. But if we are ancestors' dreams, what we can do is be the ancestors that dream for better for our great-grandchildren's grandchildren. Thank you, and thank you again. As I said, the name of this program is A Few Minutes with HRap. I am HRap, the sole proprietor of this entity. Now, today, winter. Prepare for winter. Winter is among us, is upon us. We are in fall. And what I like to do is coincide everything I do with first and foremost, God and nature, which is God. So what I want you to do, that's why it's ever present. What I want you to do is realize at this section of the year, the earth is preparing to go into hibernation. Hit reset button. It will replenish itself. So when the spring solstice come around, this is the winter solstice, whereas the days will get shorter and shorter and shorter. And guess what? The earth is preparing to hit the reset button so you can plant your crops, so new animals can come about and things of that nature. That's the way God set it up, and that's the way it is. But what I think we should do as a community, as a culture, as a group of individuals, as a diaspora, I think we need to hit the reset button on everything that we see and understand. Everything that we see and understand. Because right now, as you've seen at the top of this, since the top of this year, when one president was elected, Donald J. Trump was elected, things have been turned upside down, inside out. Everything that you saw as normal is no longer normal. So it is the end. What we're witnessing is the end of what we perceive as normal. It is not normal. I'm not saying that the world that we used to live in 2010 was normal. No, that's not normal. 1910, 1975, 1980. That is not normal. Living in an entity, living in amongst people who don't like you, who are attempting to destroy you, and not even brave enough to come out and say it. They are juxtaposed to your happiness, your joy, your peace, your adoration, your enhancing of your family, and they won't even say it. That's not normal. What I want you to understand is this. This is what we can do to fix the normal. What is the end of normal? I'm glad you asked. The end of normal as we saw it is we created the Department of Education. When I say black people created the Department of Education, I'm going to show you how. It used to be against the law for us to enhance our minds through reading and writing. You could not be literate in this country and be black, or you will potentially face death. Now, 1865 comes along. We win the war for this country. We continue. We recreate. We confirm the union, and everybody's happy. Everybody but white folks. White folks aren't happy, and the government duped poor white people into believing just what they got you believing now. They're coming for your jobs. First and foremost, your white ass didn't have no jobs. We did the agriculture. We did the development. We did the building. We did the agriculture, architecture, and science. If it wasn't for a black man, George Washington, his crew dies of smallpox, but he taught them immunization. Only judge, Brother Hercules, was the cook at the White House. Only judge escaped and rode back to George Washington, kick rocks and flip-flops, buddy. I'm not doing this. See, we've been at the forefront of the development of this country since its inception, but they don't teach you that, and that's why they did not want you to read, because reading empowers you, makes you do more research. You do more research, you find out how great you are, then can't nobody call you the N-word. Can't nobody call you a B. Can't nobody dismiss you as a wild, young individual, woman, young man, or young woman. You can't be denigrated at that point because you understand who you are, what you come from, and how you need to proceed going forward. That's what you get when you read. When you read, that's why they made reading a basically a fungus and wanted you to believe it was a horrible thing. But after that war, 1865, from 1865 to 1872, literacy rate in America for black people alone went from 4% to 84%. Never been duplicated in the history of the earth. No matter what continent you come from, it was never duplicated. And look how special we were. We went from field hands. We went from forced indentured servitude to being doctors, lawyers, scientists, architects, and every other thing that was based on technology in the history of this world. Look at everything. This internet was created by somebody who created a formula that looks like me. That light that's shining in my face, it was by a brother by the name of Granville Wood, or Phil Lattimore helped create that light bulb. Granville Woods helped to create the filament. Blood transfusion. No matter what you think of, we did it. And reading helps that. That's why you have an assault on the Department of Education. That's why you had a guy by the name of Donald Trump who wanted to remove that brother with those whips on his back, because if you see those whips on his back, it will trigger you to greatness. I'll never be that. That's what I want you to understand. That greatness that I'm speaking of, you can see it behind me. You can see it right behind me. You see that? That's the greatness that we come from. That's the greatness that they want to keep you away from. That's why it's the end of social service. We're not a socialist country. But November 2008, when George Bush crashed this damn market, the stock market, and everybody was losing 200,000 jobs a month. You know what happened? Socialism. Socialism happened. Well, how did socialism happen? You had one Barack Hussein Obama bailing out banks, bailing out General Motors, bailing out Chrysler, bailing out AIG and other companies throughout this country. Yeah, remember that. If you think about it, all you have to do, I always say, this is a tool or it's a toy. It is a tool or a toy. Now, if it's not a toy, Google too big to fail, and you'll see so many companies that receive socialism. Socialism is when the government puts in money so you won't fail. You know what else is socialism? Social Security. Oh, man, we're sick of people being, this ain't a socialist country. Yes, it is, because your dumb ass gets Social Security. Your dumb ass, your schools are subsidized. When the government puts money into entities so you can have benefits from those entities, that's socialism. See, they trained you to think socialism is a Russian concept and Karl Marx. No, socialism comes from Africa. Again, monotheology, the study of one God, Judaism, Islam, Christianity comes from Africa. Yeah, we did that. See, just because somebody else packages it and give it to you does not mean you created it. If you ever ate a famous Amos cookie, that is not by the Nabisco company that bought him out. That's by a brother by the actually name was Amos. God rest his soul. He passed away last year. I think he's last year within the last 2 years. But this is what I want you to understand. This is what you're up against when you're dealing with these things. This is not hate speech. I don't think you shouldn't hate anybody. I don't want you to hate anybody. I don't want you to hate anybody. I don't want you to dislike anybody. I don't want you to disregard anybody. But I just want you to understand how great you are and what you're capable of. And when you understand how great you are, what you're capable of, all of a sudden you don't have to adhere to any anti-black norms. You don't have to watch the news, and then you'll realize, why is it that only my niece, my nephew, my little cousin is on TV attacking and breaking into things? But when Rap did a show last week, he showed most of the arrests in America, 75% of the arrests in America are white people. But you never knew that because you only see you and people that look like you and I on the screen being arrested, being devious. Like in Chicago, oh my God, how could they shoot up the Christmas tree lighting? That is just so, that's those blacks in Chicago. They never said it was a black person, but just what you thought. Well, I didn't even look into it if it was a black person, but most people say our kids and thought about us. Did you hear about the shooting at the tree lighting in South Carolina? I mean, in North Carolina at a white church? Probably didn't, because that ain't newsworthy. That does not continue the negative press. See, that's why you have dumbasses that support this white nationalist that look like me. See, it's the Democrat. You think you went up on somebody, but yeah, he calls it fake news because he understands that it is partially fake. They're doing things. If it bleeds, it leads. They have a certain demographic that they want to denigrate, disrespect, and disregard. And a lot of my folks, we fall into it. So again, the old normal, what was called normal, is dissipating. You got the age of consent for sexual deviance. They trying to lower it so he won't go to jail. No, it ain't cool for a 20-year-old man to be sleeping with a 14-year-old girl under no circumstances in the 21st century. Since 1960 or something of that nature, you used to have certain social standards at that point, but we changed, we developed, we evolved. And since we evolved, we're not regressing, because I don't care how old my daughter is. You 60 years old and my daughter 20 years old, me and you will have a problem. We and you're trying to dominate. Again, this is the dictionary definition of colonization: attempt to mentally dominate, physically dominate, and control. That's all. Redevelop your mind. You as a parent cultivate it like a cult. You cultivated your children. You should be cultivating your cousins. You should be helping cultivate your neighbors, nieces, nephews. That's what you should be developing their minds, not allowing the television, not allowing the movies, not allowing the music to influence you. The music isn't the way it used to be. No, the music, there are thousands of artists who are still singing quality songs, rapping quality songs, and giving cautionary tales, but those people are pushed to the back, and this wild, insane madness and chaotic music is being pressed to the front, because what you put in you mentally, hearing, visually, seeing, and ingesting via your diet determines who you are. You are what you ingest. If you ingest chaos, you will have a chaotic mind. If you ingest have poor dietary practices, you'll eventually be morbidly obese, and you'll suffer from things like diabetes, and you'll suffer from things like heart disease and things of that nature. This is a plan. This isn't happenstance. This isn't something that just happened. This is the reality of these situations. And that's why the old normal, when people were starting to uplift themselves and people were starting to develop their own mindset, and groupthink wasn't the group or rule of the day, that is on the way out. There's about 80% out. Why would you want to do away with health care? I thought you loved the people. You want to fight about abortion. You want to fight about all these things and label it under the rule of law, but you don't want to put people in the best health situation. Help me understand. I'm anti-abortion, but you're pro-ruthless, reckless gun behavior. You can't be pro-life. How are you pro-life and you allowing people to have semi-automatic and automatic weapons shooting 28 rounds in less than a minute? What the hell are you up against that you need to do that in an urban area? And then you wonder why these young people are acting damn fools. You shooting at churches in South Carolina, shooting up schools in Texas. Y'all didn't hear about that either. Y'all didn't hear about the South Carolina and the Texas thing, but y'all heard about that Chicago thing, seeing how Chicago is ranked 82nd in the United States of America. It's only 50 states, so that means you go around all the way around and you almost come around again, and then you get to Chicago in regards to violence. 82nd in violence, so you don't go to Little Rock. Pueblo, Colorado. Not talking about that either. See the things that they pressed in your mind and made you believe, hey, man, this is a situation that needs to be fixed, but they don't really address the problems. They tell you what the problems are, and then make you think you're crazy. And you would have to be crazy to adhere to this foolishness and this madness. That's what I want you to understand. You don't have to do this. What you can do is think on your own. You could use your own mind. You can use your own head. You can do what you have to do to ensure everything in your life will be cohesive. But we're not trained to do those things anymore. We're trained to group think. This is what they said. Why would you, as an adult, quote they? Why are you quoting they? I've never met they. I've never known of they. I don't know anything about they, but people still quote they. Why is it that you still quote they? Anybody knows they? No, they don't exist. They lead you to chaos and turmoil, but you're comfortable dealing with they. We don't want to deal with they anymore. They aren't helping us. They are leading us down the wrong path, and they are misinforming us. Sorry, got distracted briefly. But this is what I want you to understand. They are not doing us any good. They are leading us down the wrong path, and they are putting us in a horrible situation. How was the new normal ended? They. They did it. They did it. The new normal will lead you back to this. I'm just telling you, this is what the new normal is going back to. A lot of people on a lot of networks and things, they don't want me to put that picture up there. So I only put it up there briefly, else they'll cut my feed because the new normal wants you to be ignorant as humanly possible. They want you to stand next to stupidity and live in chaos. That is what a new normal is, because if you're in a chaotic mind state, you can't think straight. And if you can't think straight, you can't fight. And if you can't fight, we rule the day. And that's just the name of the game. I'm going to show you a video shortly. And I literally had someone say, you're going to make people hate people. No, telling the truth shouldn't make anybody hate anyone. Telling the truth should only enhance your ability to put yourself in a better situation, point blank, period, end of story. Now, if you don't want the truth, and continue to walk down the path that you're walking down, but the new ignorance is the root cause of the consequences that we're suffering right now. You want to talk about Kamala Harris's sex life. Well, she slept her way to the top. Meanwhile, this man grabbing women by the vagina. He has been a convicted sex SA person. You can't say the other word. He's convicted of SA or cohesive with SA. He has dozens upon dozens of opportunities to enhance lives of others, and he chose, nope, I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna destroy lives. I'm gonna denigrate people, and I'm gonna do things the way I think they should be done. And then we sitting around waiting on proof. You really want proof? You want proof that somebody, you don't need proof or anything else, but you want proof that somebody's running for office to run the country, and you need proof. You sound like a damn fool. But hey, man, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to present the facts as I see them, and as I see them, we're in a horrible situation. Why you got a guy without a PhD. He has no medical experience. He even said, don't listen to me, but he's running the department of med. He's running the medical department in this country. You got a woman who's never been a teacher, who come from the world of WWE, and she's running the Department of Education. You got a whole host of people unqualified. You got a dude off a talk show. He's running the military. Off a Fox talk show, and he's running the military. This is what we're up against. And you thought it was better to not elect that woman. Hey, well, she did this and she did that. I don't give a, let's just say every rumor about former Vice President Harris was true. Let's just say everything about her was true. I guarantee you, if you stack her eels up next to his eels, you notice you don't even see my hand anymore. That's what you will get. That's what you will get. So people love to play devil's advocate and do the lesser of two evils and all that. Why the hell are y'all advocating for the evil to begin with? But that's neither here nor there. But we always want to play the devil's advocate, and I'm gonna show you the other side. Don't show me the other side. I know what the other side is. I know what the other side. You want to see the other side? This is the other side. Since y'all love advocate, that's the other side. Because guess what? That dude's father was there. He was at a rally like that. He was arrested at a rally like that. And guess what? Oh, well, that don't mean have anything to do with him. I ain't even meet my father. My father died 4 months before I was born. And anybody who knows me, they know him. They say we act, talk, and even sound alike. So don't tell me the apple fell far from a tree. This is a dude who took out a full page ad in a major New York news publication to have young black men put to death about a crime that they didn't commit. He's yet to apologize for. This dude has been caught in more lies than any other president in the history of the presidency. But that's who you are. It's the Democrats. It's the Republicans. It's the same bird, but here's the difference. It's the difference. The right wing wants to destroy you. The left wing wants to control you. I would rather have somebody attempt to control my mind to destroy myself. And that's what you don't want health care, but you want to help other people. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking out against the president, but just in time for her to have health care, a better health care plan than 99.9% of the people that's in these United States of America. She quits her job with a certified pension for the rest of her life. But she said she stood up and took that office so you can help people when it gets tough and when you're going to be on the wrong side of history. You tuck your tail and you run. But y'all tell me it's a Democrat, it's the Republican. It's people who are at the top attempting to destroy and annihilate the people in the middle and at the bottom. Point blank, period, end of story. But no one wants to look into that. You just want to sound like you're smart. I've seen people pull up, well, we used to be Republicans. Yeah, we did. We used to be Republicans. And until about 1952, when the Southern strategy kicked in, and then all the bigots said, we're no longer Democrats, we're going to join the Republican Party. And the fake people who were our comrades, they went to the other side. Voting don't count. More ignorance. Voting don't count. How many times have you walked up to a person who was unhoused, which we used to call homeless, and said, I wonder how much money he got on him? More than likely, you've never done that because you don't think they have anything. And if voting wasn't important, why are they trying to take it from you? See, voting ain't important because you're too ignorant to understand the power of voting. Voting is one nail in a gigantic house. Voting is the hammer in a toolbox. You don't need a hammer all the time. But if you are a handyman, a mechanic, a carpenter, anything that you need vocation for, a hammer may be something that you need. It may be something that you need, or it is good to have it. And that's what what voting is. It is a small piece of the bigger puzzle of independence, freedom, reality, of emancipation, and things of that nature. That's what it is. But we're too uninformed and ignorant to say, hey, this might be good for us. And when you don't do that, you suffer the consequences because you don't know the rules of engagement. If you don't know the rules of engagement, even though they can change them when you want to, but guess what? If MLK and Martin King and Whitney Young and Baynard Rustin and Adam Clayton Powell and Fannie Lou Hamer and Coretta Scott King and all those wonderful women in the struggle and all those gentlemen in the struggle, if they could get things changed in the 60s, just imagine if we came together with uniformity and absorb the knowledge, and then we unite and move forward. I told y'all it is not about walking lockstep. Uniformity is not the key. The key is emancipation. You can be whatever culture and whatever segment of the culture you want to be in. But if you want your grandchildren to live a greater life, or your great grandchildren's grandchildren to live a greater life than you ever thought at your best, uniformity is going to be key. What do you need to be uniformed about? You need to be in lockstep of understanding how the United States Constitution works, the three branches of government: legislative, judicial, and executive. You need to understand the importance of voting, because if you vote in the assessor's office, now when you go to sell your house, the value of your house can be appropriately accounted for. The taxes can be appropriately accounted for. You can have representation. Taxation, representation. That thing that they told you the original war was started at, Revolutionary War. You must know these things. They didn't teach you these things so you can recite and oh man, pledge allegiance and all those things. You have to understand these things. And when you are of abject ignorance, you will be raped emotionally, socially, physically, and spiritually, because then you will not do the research. Like, stop taking things so literal. Stop looking to respond. Absorb, sit in it, process it, respond. And that's how you become a better individual. That's how these things become better for you. And that's how you live a better life for it. Otherwise, you will suffer the consequences. The people at the top, they prey on ignorance. They've created a narrative of wicked Black people, wicked Latino people, good white people. They've created that narrative. That's why when you call a white person a racist, even if they are, they're, oh, no, I'm not. Why is that? Why are you so adverse to that? Because you understand it's wrong. And if it's wrong, then you have to look at the past. And you look at the past, you understand. Then you want to undo those wrongs. But let's not talk about slavery. We're not going to talk about slavery at all in this segment of the conversation. We're not going to talk about it at all. What we're going to talk about is this. Let's talk about since the emancipation. Since the emancipation from 1870, we're not even going to go none of the 1860, 1870 to the year I was born, 1970. There were hate groups created. There were laws created. There were restrictions laid out. There were things called black laws. How are you going to remove me from a plantation? Don't give me anything. You're supposed to give me 40 acres, a mule, and $100. You didn't give it to me. And if you did give it to me, like some of the people in South Carolina, you took it from them. You gave me nothing. Then you said, if you stand around doing nothing, you go to jail. Then you created Jim and Jane Crow, discriminated against black and white, black men and black women. Then you created redlining, because when you created that, we beat it. All these obstacles, we continue to beat them. And then when you beat them, you get your greatest trick ever. And now for my greatest trick, integration. Integration, because integrating allowed you to believe. Now the power structure was eating off two plates, the power structure's plate and our plate, because we came up, we created a basketball league, we created Negro, you know about the basketball league, we created the Negro League of Baseball. We were one of the first people who created auto in the auto industry. We were always at the forefront of creation in this country. And we created these things. We had speakeasies. When y'all had speakeasies, we had a prohibition. We were bootlegging and things of that nature. We did everything y'all did, but we did it a little better. And they said they're making too much money on their own. Hey, tell you what, you want to be a part of this? And we fell for it. And we've been going downhill like a Mack truck with no brakes and the pedal stuck since. And that's the gotcha in every plan. But hey, since they're separating again, here's our opportunity. Everybody's about to be on the ground. 350,000 black women, and I think it's more like 500,000, but documented 350,000 black women have lost their jobs. DEI, oh man, we don't want no more DEI. Then you got people like Pharrell. We're going to stand up because we're great. You think they hired your black ass at Louis Vuitton because you're great, bro? No, because you're black and you have a following. You have millions of young people loving you, and they will look at you, adhere to your fashion sense, and then follow it. Not because you some beat man. Well, why Dr. Dre ain't got one? Why DJ Premier don't have one? Oh, they not fashion forward. Get your... Never mind. What I want you to understand is this. The things that you upholding and adhering to are are major contributors to our destruction. And if you don't live in that world, you will live in it soon. You will suffer the consequences of your ignorance very, very, very soon, because this is where they live. This is where they live. This is where they make their money. This is where they butter their bread, on ignorance. And not just black ignorance, on ignorance throughout the entire country. Ignorance throughout the entire country. Ignorance is the key to dominating somebody, because you will assume one thing and it will be something totally different. It is not your place to fall victim to their foolishness. You don't want to continue to do these things. This is not what you want. As the kids say, this ain't what you want. This is not what you want. You don't want to fall victim to this. And all you have to do is open your eyes and be present in what's going on. A lot of people are not present because they say things like, well, that's not going to work. Well, that's the key. Keep you unabreast to what's going on, and then I can do whatever I want to do to you, and you'll have to just adhere to what I want you to do. That's it. That's it. That's all. That's how it works. That's how it works, brothers and sisters, ladies, gentlemen, haters, and bitter friends. What I want you to do is realize what's going on, and I'll show you a small, brief video of what's happening. And when you see this video, I'll be back to shut this whole thing down. It is an interesting tale of events, because I want you to see it. And when you see it, you'll understand why I do what I do. I'll be right back in a second.
Black sharecroppers met in a church to form a union. White mobs killed up to 237 of them and blamed a race riot. Please follow us to show support. On September 30th, 1919, about 100 black sharecroppers gathered at a church in Hoop Spur, Arkansas, near Elaine, to organize the Progressive Farmers and Household Union of America. Their demand was simple: fair payment for their cotton crops. White plantation owners paid pennies and kept sharecroppers perpetually in debt. During the meeting, a white mob fired shots at the church. The sharecroppers fired back in self-defense. News spread fast. Within hours, hundreds of white men, some deputized, others vigilantes, descended on black neighborhoods with guns. Over the next 3 days, they slaughtered between 100 and 800 black people. Newspapers called it a race riot started by black insurrection. 12 black men were sentenced to death for defending themselves. 67 more were indicted.
And that's why we need to create our own normal. You see what happened? We stood up, and see, that's the problem. You don't know that. So you don't know when we start liberating ourselves, we start emancipating ourselves, we start uplifting ourselves mentally, we start taking over spiritually, we start doing our own thing. They're coming. You must arm yourself with knowledge, the knowledge of what has happened in the past. That will determine where you are currently. And then you'll be able to navigate through your future. That's called, as an African principle called Sankofa. We must arm ourselves with the information of our greatness. That's how you start this thing. You arm yourself with the information of how great you are, what you come from, and what you have the ability to do. If you don't think it's in you, understand this. Every young lady in the history of Earth was born with all the eggs that she'd ever need. But guess what? The information was transferred from her mother. And then she lives a life. And it is her mother and her grandmother and her great-grandmother. All that tyranny is in that young lady in those eggs. Now, if she learns how to develop herself spiritually, socially, physically, what she does is enhance those eggs. That tyranny and that trauma still inside that young lady, but she is overwhelmed with good. And then she has a child, and that child may still have those triggers, but it comes into a situation of uplifting, empowerment, and engagement. So it suppresses that negative energy. The world we live in now, it is a breeding ground for that negativity. It's almost a cesspool for chaos. And that's why our young people are acting chaotic, because they're responding to 400 years of tyranny, and then 50, 60 years from their grandmother, 50, 60 years from their great-grandma, and then 20, 30 years of that mother, and then here they are. Now you live 10, 12, 15 years in that same chaos, and what are you going to do? It's more chaos piled upon it. But our new normal can be empowering. Giving our young people, instead of buying toys, buy tools. Whether it be a tool as in regards to technology, a tool in regards to science. Get away from them damn balls and sweating and running and jumping unless you're trying to get that paid for. The reason Paul Robeson was a professional football player was to pay for law school. Why would you run into another man at top speed and then complain that you're not getting paid well enough and not taken care enough and then dedicate your life to that sport? There are other ways that you can do it. The smartest man in the world can also be the richest man in the world. Or the man who runs around with the ball who makes, hey man, LeBron James made $1 billion. He got $1 billion contract with Nike, but Nike probably made $5 billion off LeBron James as to date at a minimum. See, this is what I want you to understand. We don't have to compete. They need to compete with us. We're the creators. We created science. We created architecture. We are the reason that these crops work because they didn't just go throw a net over our continent and grab up people and say, hey, come over here and till this land. They went and got architectures, grabbed them. They went and got agricultural specialists and grabbed them. They ain't go get no doctors because they needed us to be as weak as possible. They ain't bring no spiritual people because they needed us to be disconnected with God. So they separate us by language, and now we're chaotic and confused. And then they put us in this breeding ground called the United States of America, this criminal enterprise called the United States of America. And here we are. But when you know that, you can start coming together. You got a son who's very good verbally. You put him in a real estate class. You got a nephew who's good with his hands. You got 3 nephews that are good with their hands. So you got one with finance, 3 good with their hands, and you have your son. You put your son through real estate school. You got this other son with finance. Your nephew with finance. You put him through an accounting class, and then you got the other 3 good with their hand, and they all teach each other how to do those things in rehab homes. Now you got $500,000 home and 5 people. Everybody get $100,000, or everybody gets $65,000, and then you do it in 30 days later. You do it 60 days later. You do it 100 days later, or you just continue to build a community of your people. And then you open up a liquor store, you open up a corner store, you open up a chicken shack, and you open up everything that you need to support that community. And then you, just with your family, support yourself. And y'all got your own barber, y'all got your own doctors, you have your own lawyers, and so forth and so on. Now you have your own voting base. So now people won't be trying to gerrymander you and put you in a situation. Even if they do gerrymander, if they successfully gerrymander you, meaning move your votes into a place where people around you are at the forefront of destruction, you can still come together and vote people out. We outnumber people in this country. Don't think you're a minority. They're Germans, they're Irish, they're French, they're Spanish, they're Portuguese, they're Polish people. They are in small segments. We are one lump. Don't allow somebody to tell you that you're a minority, because you're not. You are the global majority. And when you know those things, you understand there's power in number. There's power in numbers, because numbers equal finance. Finance equals power. Power equals control. Point blank, period, end of sentence. If you do it that way, you win. If you don't, you will have to adhere to the tyranny and the destruction of your people for the rest of your days. That's it. That's all. That's how it's going to go. You don't have to be a slave to anyone, but you can be a king in your own castle. And you be the king of your own castle like me. My mother created a castle. I have 2 sisters in that castle. They have children in that castle, my nieces and nephews. That means me and my nephew Anthony are the king and the prince, because my mother's no longer here. I'm the oldest male in my family. That means I'm the king and the prince. That means my Uncle Richard is the king of my grandparents' family, and so forth and so on. Guess what? I got a double seating king because in Chicago, of my dad's family, I'm the oldest male in town. See, we create kingdoms. We create environments. We create a culture. And we come together uniformly, moving forward and having unity to move and advance our people. If you do that, we win. If you don't, we lose. With that being said, I'll be back at 8:30 on this very network. Hit that like, hit that share. Tell a friend to tap in, because what I need from you is to continue to support. Hit that like, hit that share, Have a great day. I'm HRap B, 2 fingers, 1 word.
Stop name calling one another. Stop cursing one another. Stop gossiping about one another. Stop squabbling with one another. Stop being discourteous and disrespectful to one another. Stop fighting one another. Stop killing one another. Stop using and selling drugs to one another. Stop throwing down trash where black people have to live, work, and play. Did I say stop stealing, stop robbing? Now, as I said, the pressure of the white supremacy dynamic that forces black people to think negatively about themselves and set up negative environmental conditions will produce these negative behaviors. You see, but that's just like somebody putting you in check from the other side of the board. So you have to learn the tactics and strategies, the behavioral tactics and strategies, do you see, that will stop that from happening. So you're constantly on the offensive and the defense about preserving or evolving and developing a very positive image and concept of self.